Hi, guys. My name is Stephanie, and I'm a millionaire. More precisely, my parents are millionaires, but it's basically the same thing. And believe me, I have everything I could want. Well, everything except real friends. To them, I had to pretend to be poor, which I want to tell you about. Since I was born, I've never faced poverty. My parents inherited a profitable business and were able to grow it even more. They're rarely at home, but I've never been bored because of that. I had several nannies at once, my own stable full of ponies, a large swimming pool, a hall with arcade machines, and a home theater with 50 seats and a 13-foot screen. My parents did everything they could to give my free time some variety. We live in Brentwood, an elite neighborhood in Los Angeles. Our neighbors are mostly Hollywood stars, popular musicians, or very successful businessmen. I also grew up with a lot of elite kids. As children, we often forgot about our special status, and we all played together or watched cartoons in my theater. But when we grew up, everything changed. Instead of funny games, the eternal arguments and bragging started up. Each kid would try to show that he's cooler and richer than everybody else. I participated in this too. We wouldn't compare iPhones or brand name clothes. We compared our cars, houses, and the elite colleges we were accepted to in advance. And we always played mean tricks on each other to embarrass each other in front of the press. For example, once during a social event, I tripped a girl who had recently become rich. It was kind of like her initiation into our circle. Who would have thought that she would fall right on the table with her face in the punch bowl and even break her arm? After that incident, everything began to change. Once, out of interest, I decided to look at unpopular vloggers who were just talking about their life at school. You may not believe me, but I really didn't know how ordinary people lived. We were all so far from poverty that we considered it more a horror story than actual fact. In those videos, I saw how kids saved money on food to buy themselves a regular smartphone or more bearable clothes. And teenagers who literally lived in poverty would do challenges from rich snobs for the sake of $100. I spent many more times that on a single breakfast. But I also noticed something else that made me decide to start fresh. Most of these people didn't have money, but they had something that I didn't have: true friendship. They supported each other and joked around not to disgrace each other, but just for fun. And I'm not used to getting what I want, so from that moment on, I decided to find real friends and give them whatever they wanted. Looking through the videos for a long time, I came up with the image of a simple girl. To be honest, I wouldn't even give away the cheap clothes I bought. You couldn't wear this at all. I had to treat these rags like theatrical props to not feel disgusted. I arrived on the outskirts of Los Angeles, and it was difficult for me to overcome the horror of what I saw. Modest concrete boxes they call houses, cars that are decades old, and clothes sewn in some basement. Once I overcame my contempt, I went up to a group of people and introduced myself. They took me for one of them. Well, of course, because I hardly even used expensive cosmetics. But I was caught after a couple of hours, and it wasn't about my appearance. The girls began to say something about the stars and fashion, not understanding it at all. I couldn't listen to it and quickly explained to them about the world of fashion, setting everything straight. And then an argument broke out between us. I showed them visual proof on my social media. Then they kicked me out, calling me a crazy rich kid. Yeah, that was stupid, but I didn't despair, and the next day I went to another neighborhood. This time I was more prepared and even started a fake Instagram page, and it helped me get to know the cool guys, Andrew and Piper. I ran into them in some cafe. It was immediately obvious that they were from poor families. They invited me to their table, and then Piper told me to buy a burger here as it was on sale. Seeing what was on Andrew and Piper's plates, I quickly refused, saying I had no money. I still wasn't ready to poison myself with this garbage. And then something happened that I couldn't expect. Andrew ordered me a burger at his own expense. He said that this miracle is worth his $2, and I simply had to try it. I've never bought anything for $2 in my life. But I couldn't say no. he spent the last of his money, which really amazed me. The burger sucked, but I imagined it was a marbled beef burger from my favorite restaurant. But it ended up with sad consequences for me. I got sick almost immediately. Believe me, the usual rich kids would only laugh at me, but Andrew and Piper helped me get to the hospital and still sat there all the time while my stomach was pumped. This attention struck me the most. We made an appointment in a couple of days, and Andrew proudly said that he would pick me up in his car. And when this noisy old thing drove up, I already wanted to come up with 1,000 excuses not to get into it. I was afraid that it would fall apart on the way, but there was no other way out. We went to the mall where there were big discounts on everything. With huge eyes of joy, they eagerly looked at everything. I thought that I only used discounts once in my life when I changed the tires on my Lamborghini. By the end of the day, Andrew was glowing with happiness with an old model laptop in his hands, and Piper was buying tasteless rags with a big smile. It hurt me to look at this, and I decided to help them. The next day, I drove to my favorite boutiques and good shops, buying them various gifts. For me, these are ordinary things, but they would save up for them all their lives. And to avoid getting caught, I launched a mega contest for all these purchases from an Instagram page and one from another fake page. Everything was perfect, or so it seemed to me. The guys were in seventh heaven. Naturally, I said that I kept a couple of cool things for myself. I was ready to watch forever how they would sort out their gifts with interest. There was so much gratitude in their eyes. But when I came to visit them a few days later, I noticed with horror that Piper was walking around in her shitty clothes again, and Andrew was using an ancient laptop. I asked what happened to the gifts, and the answer struck me. They said that these things were too expensive, and they decided to sell them because they really needed the money. It turns out that their families were in heavy debt. It was an ugly thing for friends to do. At that moment, rage swept over me. I called them narrow-minded and savage since they are so willing to give up such expensive things. This is where I got caught. Piper said that she had noticed I had been behaving strange for a long time. I didn't argue and confessed who I really was. They were disappointed in me because I was lying to them the whole time. Again, I was told that I was a crazy rich girl with nothing better to do, and they added that they were really happy without a lot of money because they have the most important things, a strong family and good friends. At home, I thought for a long time about their words. At first, I wanted to forget all this and continue to enjoy my luxurious life, but those guys had sunk into my soul. They helped me when I was sick, and they also spent the last of their money on that ill-fated burger. I have not seen such sincere people without any manners for a long time, so I couldn't resist and came to them with an apology, saying that I really wanted to continue to be friends. At first, they agreed without enthusiasm, but then we quickly became friends. They helped me out in difficult situations more than once, and I helped their families pay off their debt so that they could afford more than a $2 burger. How would you react in Andrew and Piper's shoes? Write your answers in the comments and like and share this video with your friends.